Friends, I'm getting this video out to you a little bit early today because we got some big things we need to talk about. We got a lot of problems simmering on the back burner. While it seems like we have almost record complacency out there, we got the nation on edge. People are looking sideways at each other, not trusting one another, and both sides actually quite angry at the other. Politically, we got the power grid on the verge of a disaster right there, as we're about to go into probably a very hard winter. And just this afternoon, probably just about as this video comes out, we got the Federal Reserve about to make a major decision, and it's going to shock the system either way. Whatever they do is going to be unprecedented, is going to shake things pretty radically. We got a lot to talk about, and these are some really big warnings I need to give you so that you're aware of what's about to happen in the next days and months. All right, friends, let's get into it. Welcome to the Poplar Report. I'm Steve Poplar. I'm an accountant by trade, and these are the things the mainstream media just won't cover. All right, we'll talk about the nation just being at each other's throats in just a little bit, but let's get you this information. The Federal Reserve is about to have a meeting, or is just having a meeting at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard, and then they have the press conference at 2:30. This is going to be a big one. Everyone's looking at them. There's a lot of expectations that they're going to cut interest rates. Here's the problem. Stock market's at all-time highs, and they're going to cut interest rates. Cutting interest rates is like what they do when the stock market crashes. So the markets for weeks have been so excited. Like, if cutting interest rates while the stock market's crashing kind of gives it support, it's going to give it a shot of adrenaline. It's going to go through the roof. And everyone's been riding this trade for weeks, for over a month. They've all been bidding up the stock market in this great excitement. Here's the problem. They've already priced everything in. I mean, like, people already are expecting the Federal Reserve to put their Santa hats on and come out and just give presents to everybody, especially to billionaires and ultra wealthy and corporations. And they've already priced that in. So where does it go from here? I think there's a very strong chance what's going to happen is the Federal Reserve is going to disappoint them, and the market's going to go south. Now, it could explode upwards. So all I'm saying is be careful, because something's going to happen today. Oftentimes with the Federal Reserve meetings, you'll see the market go exploding upwards, then exploding downwards, then crash, or vice versa. You know, it comes down hard, and then suddenly during the meeting, the chairman says something, and suddenly the stocks get super excited about that, and it goes up through the roof. So there's a lot of whiplash that happens with these Federal Reserve meetings, because we have a fake. It's not the financial system. The financial system is a joke. It's all just money printed by the Federal Reserve, which is not the government. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, so that's going to happen today. It's quite possible that they're going to shock the market by not doing what the market expects. Now, generally speaking, they do what the market expects. They realize that if the market expects X, they need to provide X, or else there's going to be chaos. The market is saying that there will be a 0.25% interest rate cut. That's going to happen. And they're saying that there's a decent, small chance of them cutting 0.5%. That's kind of like that'll be the big surprise if they cut more. But historically speaking, stock market crashes and federal interest rate cuts kind of go hand in hand. Now, usually it's a rate, the crash happens and then the rate cut happens. So, but sometimes the market looks at them and goes, what has you so concerned that you're cutting interest rates? You're acting like the market and the financial system in the United States is at the point of collapse. What are you seeing that we're not seeing? And the market has been overlooking so much bad information because it's like, well, they're going to cut interest rates. Well, once they get the interest rate cut, now all they're left with is, okay, so now maybe we should look at all this bad data. Maybe we should look at how bad the financial system is. Things are going to happen today. All right, just be prepared. Put your big boy, big girl pants on, and if you have money in the markets, just protect yourself, okay? All right. The power grid. We're coming to the whole Charlie Kirk division of the country and violent speech and threats against people. We're coming there. But another thing that people seem to be ignoring right now is the power grid. The power grid is, we had more warnings and alerts, maximum generation alerts sent out this summer than we've had in any summer in the last 30 years. The power grid is more close to the line than it has been before. Do we have an extraordinarily hot summer this year? No, we did not. We had a fairly mild summer this year, didn't we? So people are suggesting that we may be looking at a very nasty winter this winter. We're seeing some strange behaviors from creatures such as ants and others. Birds are disappearing. Some are suggesting that the birds have fled south. So if the birds and if ants and other creatures are telling us that things are about to get squirrely with the weather, and we have a power grid that's struggling even during regular times to keep the power on, what might happen this winter? That's the question. We got Europe, who has cut the natural gas flows from Russia into their storage areas. And we said last year that they're going to have enough natural gas to get through the year, but they were going to have a real hard time importing enough natural gas over this summer to be prepared for next winter. And if there's a harsh winter this coming winter, they're going to be in a world of hurt. They may run out of natural gas before the winter's over. So this is a problem. Now, previously we had talked about, and a lot of people have talked about, electric cars. All these people switching over to electric cars is going to put a great strain on the power grid. Well, right now, let's use California for instance, because California has the highest adoption rate of electric cars. Less than 1% of California's power generation goes towards electric cars right now. Now, by 2030, that's projected to go nationwide up to about 2.5% of the power grid's energy generation is going to go towards electric cars. I'm not saying that's a small number. That's a real number. That's an issue, especially since we're not building transmission lines. We don't even know how to build transmission lines anymore, and a lot of the high tension lines are like 30 years old, 30, 40 years old. Some of those towers were literally built back in the 1950s and 60s. Can we even build that kind of stuff en masse anymore? It would be difficult, right? Anyway, so the power grid is not being expanded. They're trying to put more high tension lines, high voltage lines on existing towers, but they're not designed for that. But it's easier to just kind of put them on there as opposed to building new right-of-ways and that kind of thing. But still, the power grid demand is growing much faster than the transmission lines, the transformers, and the power generation. And of course, this whole move to the green energy thing is a whole thing too. All right, so data centers. This is the one that people are starting to talk about a little more with artificial intelligence. Every time you type something into Google, it drinks a cup of water or something like that. People are talking about that, how many gallons of water it uses, which I think is just a silly thing in the first place. Like, you know, we're not running out of water in America, okay? Water that goes through a data center can come out the other end of the data center, can go through treatment again and then can go into people's homes. I mean, all you're using it for is actually, warming it up, right? You're warming up the water. It's not the most sanitary thing because, it's going through a whole bunch of pipes. Those pipes could have, they could be a little musty or something like that. So, but we can just recycle that water. It's not a problem. We can dump it in the river and then pull more water out of the river. It's fine. But they use a tremendous amount of power as well. Right now, as of last year, about 4 to 5% of the U.S. power grid was going to data centers. Projected by 2030, looking more like 9 to 12% of the power grid is going to be going to data centers. 2030 is not that far away. Okay, that's just a few years down the road. We're going to have to add another 5 to 7% to the power grid in generation capacity, as well as expanding transmission lines, transformers, all that. Do you see that happening in the next couple years? No. We're not even replacing the power plants that we're closing. We're closing oil-fired power plants. We're shutting down coal-fired power plants, replacing them with solar panels that don't work at night. We're replacing them with windmills that sometimes work, sometimes they don't work. Have you ever driven by one of those wind farms? Do you have wind farms near you? You ever notice how you look at a wind farm and if you see 3 or 4 wind turbines, at least one of them is not turning. At least one of them is down for repairs or it's broken at any given time. And it's not unusual to go drive by a wind farm. The wind is blowing, and yet all of the wind turbines are stopped. Now, they need a certain wind velocity before they can actually turn on, and if it's over a certain amount, they have to shut down. Okay, I get that. But it's not unusual to see these things. They have tremendous amounts of downtime and the maintenance, and you can just imagine maintaining and repairing these skyscrapers is kind of a costly undertaking. Now, some people are making some great money climbing up these things and fixing them and, maintaining them, but it's not cost effective. The only thing that makes windmills actually useful financially is all the federal subsidies that they get. Same thing overseas. These other countries, they're pouring so much money, they're giving away so much money to these corporations that are basically just laundering federal and government money subsidies. And that's really the only thing that's making them money. And a lot of times what they do is they take all the government money and then they don't complete the project. They go bankrupt after they've moved all this money out of the corporation and they go, oopsie, because this is how clean energy, the whole system actually works. We've had this happen with the solar farms. We've had this one after the next is they build this tremendously horrific for the environment structures, whether it's solar farms that cover up hundreds and thousands of acres, and then they have no plan on cleaning it up. They go out of business after they've taken all the money from the federal government. The plant doesn't operate. There's no cleanup provisions, and the federal government is now stuck with not only having paid for something that doesn't even work, now the federal government has to clean up the whole mess. Anyway, this winter we may see issues with the power grid inside the United States. Europe is probably going to see energy problems if there's any kind of serious winter at all. And finally, like I said, we also have the problem of politics, political division inside the United States. Everyone is looking at each other sideways, concerned that they may be attacked. Let's be frank about it. The media and social media has told leftists that they are under attack and that they could be persecuted, prosecuted, that the government and people on the right are coming after them. There's anger over there, okay? But there's also fear. Is it warranted or justified? No, it's not. But it's real nonetheless. And that anger and that fear is driving them more and more to commit attacks or to support, or rather not condemn, attacks. On the right, I think more and more people are fed up with this. They're done with this. What happens when Antifa decides to launch a peaceful protest in the wrong neighborhood now? Are people going to be more likely to push back strongly and even potentially, forcefully? We're moving into a situation and scenario where not only is the government going after these groups now because they are violent, but we also have local people, regular, ordinary people are just fed up with this. Is there going to be healing for our nation? I don't think that there can be healing or reconciliation with a lot of these groups. I don't think that the groups or institutions themselves are redeemable. I think the people inside the institutions, inside these organizations are redeemable. They can come to their senses and they can choose to live a different way, to learn, to grow, and to renounce the violence and such. But a lot of these businesses, that's what they really are. These protest businesses are making money based on the fact that they're getting paid to go do atrocities or to help other people do atrocities. These institutions like universities, some of these universities are too far gone. They are controlled and run by wackos. And we need to look at just shutting them down. Letting the people go free of these indoctrination centers. The idea that these are good financial investments for young people to go be indoctrinated for 4 to 6 to 8 years is not right. They're not bastions of morality and virtue anymore, which is what they were designed to be. Now, what we're seeing in these bastions of vice and all sorts of the 7 deadly sins, right? I mean, that's basically what colleges are these days. Go for 4 years and basically leave the real world behind and all consequences and go party it up. Well, that's not working anymore. And the people who are working jobs and subsidizing these people going and having parties, and then they come out with these useless degrees, can't get a job, and then they don't want to pay back the federal government for all the money that they borrowed. This is a system that needs to end. And I think that a lot of people are to the point where, you know what, we're done being polite. Now we need to take some concrete steps to end the drain on our resources that these leeches of society are doing. And the Trump administration is doing that. And as their funding comes under attack, they will probably get more defensive and lash out more. Friends, we need to be paying attention. All right, so I've given you a couple things that you need to be preparing for. Be prepared to survive this winter if your power goes out for a day, a week, a month. Okay, please, please, please make sure you're getting ready for winter in your home. Backup heat. Have ways of heating yourself. Have places to go where people have backup heat that you can go. Protect yourselves in the markets, especially today. And we're probably going to see some whipsaw action over the next number of days. Probably a strong move one way or the other, okay? And also just if you're a red person in a blue state or a blue city, it's going to be hard. The nation is so polarized that politics has become everything. We are now seeing in our culture where people are under the impression, are under the persuasion that people of the opposing political persuasion cannot be good people. In fact, people of opposing political persuasion, a lot of people are saying out there that they deserve what's coming to them. And if you're surrounded by people who are different politically than you are, you might just be in danger. If you're one of these cities, you might want to be getting to a safer location. I know it's hard. I know your jobs are where they are. I know your homes are where they are. I know it's hard to move. But just be thinking about that, please. All right, friends, thanks so much for joining with us. If you want to check out another video from this channel, there's one right up here. I'll see you over there, or I'll see you guys later. Let us know what you guys think down in the comments down below. Steve Poplar, The Poplar Report, out.